Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am in Poland right now. I'm sat in an Airbnb 10 minutes from the arena. It is fight day tomorrow, so I'm just getting all prepped. Got a little bit of light fisticuffs work later on, and getting some IV drips, just trying to get as much energy and calm into my body as possible. I've got the official weigh-in later. I'm actually weighing 151 kilos, which is the lightest I've been for a long time. Feeling fit. I've been training very hard, doing the 4-minute rounds in training. So yeah, everything's been on point so far. A little bit of a chest infection, but I think pretty much the whole of the UK has for the last month. But hopefully it shouldn't affect me too much tomorrow. It doesn't feel too bad right now, just a little bit of croakiness at the end of your lungs. I put a little bit of a Q&A on my stories, so I thought I'd do some questions and answers for you guys, but also just an update of what's going on, what's happening. So I've been in Poland since Tuesday. We just did a little bit of press conference, been doing some media stuff. I did the sort of official weigh-in this morning. It was 151. We do the media weigh-ins tonight, and then do meet and greet with the fans, and then obviously tomorrow is fight day. So I think I'm going to be fighting around about 10 p.m. Polish time, which would be 9 p.m. UK time, about 9 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. So if you want to check out the fight, I put the pay-per-view link in the video as well. Mariusz is looking good as well. Mariusz has dropped a little bit of weight, so Mariusz has weighed in at 121 kilos, so there's exactly 30 kilos between us, 66 pounds, which is quite a big difference. But when you weigh up his experience, he's got 16 years experience, 26, this will be his 27th professional fight. You know, it's the advantages and disadvantages, there's loads. You know, he's got the experience, he's got that ability, because he's had 27 pro fights, the ability to keep the adrenaline down going into the fight, which is a massive one, because as soon as that bell goes, I don't think people quite appreciate how much your adrenaline spikes and how much that affects your fitness. Everything just tenses up and your fitness goes out the window. So I've got that to look forward to. But one thing I have got is size, power and speed. I believe I'm going to be more faster and powerful than Mariusz, but he's definitely got the endurance and the technical side way better than me. So he is 48 years of age, I am 37, so there's 11 years between us. So there's just so many different pros and cons. The odds on the bookies are pretty even, so nobody's like favouring Mariusz or me. It's bang in the middle, and I think it's because of these differences. Right, we'll get stuck into the questions anyway. I've got a question from the Nafati brothers. So the Nafati brothers are the two brothers I fought in that 2v1 in Blackburn last year. So the question is, are you going to flip him in the air like you did with one of us? Hashtag Team the Beast, come on Eddie. So, I mean, yeah, if Mariusz gets in that position where I can pick him up and power slam him, 100%. Although I don't think you're allowed to power slam in the rules, but I could pick him up and throw him for sure. Johnny Bam Pierce. Johnny Bam Pierce is my little mate. How has the training mentally changed from going from boxing to MMA? So boxing, I mean, going from strongman to boxing was tough, because obviously you've got all that size and strength and useless weight. So you lose a lot of that to go into the boxing. And then from boxing from MMA, you've almost had to forget the boxing completely, because it's just a completely different fight when you've got feet and grappling involved. If you stood there and boxed, you're going to get kicked to shit. You're going to get your legs taken out from under you, and then you're going to go to the floor, and then you get smashed in the face with hammer fists and elbows and whatever else. So you have to throw all your boxing experience away and start again, and you start from the ground up, literally from the ground up. So you start with the kicking, and then you start throwing the punches. MMA is a lot more moving off. You don't quite stand in front of the fighter as much. It's a lot more, you know, moving out the way, getting away from those kicks and angles and everything. And obviously the takedowns, you know, takedowns going to the floor, and then you've got to learn a whole world of jiu-jitsu, which has been fun. It's been hard, but it's been fun, and I feel like I've learned a hell of a lot this last sort of year doing the ground game. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to say I'm going to be any kind of level like purple belt, black belt, whatever, nowhere near that. But I have been training and sparring with purple belts and black belts, very big guys like 110, 120 kilo, and no one's been able to pin me yet. So, you know, you take from that what you will. And I've been able to get up from those you know, when they got me on the floor, I can get up. When I'm underneath, I can get up. When I'm on top, I can keep them down. So, you know, I've held my own, definitely. Alex Hall SMA, that's my brother, my eldest brother Alex. What's your favourite supplement for recovery from hard training? Well, it's definitely the Beast Farm Whey and the Big D. Link in description. The best recovery. And also, we've just released Omega Freeze, or Omega Oils, and it is the best. You can Google it, you can check it out. It is the best fish oil supplement on the market. You just take 1 capsule a day, and that will keep you fit and healthy for the rest of your life. So check that out as well. Okay, Connie Bear J. What's next after the fight with Mariusz? That's a great question. Well, obviously you've got to take into consideration what's going to happen with this fight. You know, the outcome of this, whether it be win, draw, lose, whether it's a close fight, whether it's an awful fight. I think that's going to dictate a lot of where I go next. I do want to keep my foot in the MMA. I do enjoy the fighting aspect. I enjoy the learning aspect, and I feel like I've got a place in this world of fighting, not as a ranked fighter. So I've got no ambition to become, you know, top 10 in Europe or top 10 in the world. That's just not in my mindset with this fighting game at all. Where I belong is fighting the freaks, the Mariusz Podnoskis, the Thors, you know, the big guys, the guys that it just makes sense to fight. If I were to fight, I don't know, Phil DeFries, the KSW champion. Like, Phil DeFries is like 110 kilo. So if I were to fight Phil DeFries, it's like, if you win, it's like, yeah, but you got 40 kilo on him. And if you lose, it's like, hi, you got beat by someone who's 110 kilo. It's like a lose-lose for me, you know? It's just a lose-lose situation. And obviously going up against someone like Phil DeFries would be a big mistake as well. But it just wouldn't get the interest. That's what I'm trying to say. It wouldn't get the interest. It's the same as me fighting Mariusz Podnoski, who's got 5 World Strongest Man titles. I've got a World Strongest Man title plus the half-ton deadlift. Just makes sense. So I think what's next after the fight Mariusz? So most likely, I'm definitely going to be doing arm wrestling. I might get into a little bit of bodybuilding, but I'm definitely going to keep my toe in the fight game. Okay, Jack Bradney. Do you anticipate spending much time on the ground with Mariusz? Yeah, I do. I think the standing game, in my opinion, I think it's going to be fairly in my favour, if I'm being honest. It might go the other way. But I think that's why it'll go to the ground. And I think that's where Mariusz has got much more experience than me on the floor. And he's very top dominant. He loves being on top, and he's constantly sort of elbowing in the face and grounding and pounding. He's very, very good at keeping people on the floor in those positions, and not particularly doing damage, but just winning points. If you're on top for the entire fight and just getting little digs in, you're winning the fight. So I do anticipate that could be a possibility for sure. Got Maxwell 1999. What was the hardest part of training, conditioning or technique? Definitely conditioning. I would say, because I've been negotiating this fight for over a year, and the terms were it was going to be either 3 2-minute rounds or 5 2-minute rounds. And those were the conditions. I wouldn't have said yes to this fight had it not have been 2-minute rounds. And then 6 weeks out from the fight, Mariusz turns around and says, unless we're doing 5-minute rounds, I'm pulling the plug. So I was left with the ultimatum of having to walk away from this fight or accept 5-minute rounds. We got on the blow, we got on the emails. After a week of non-stop arguing, we managed to get it down to 4-minute rounds, 2 4-minute rounds with 90 seconds rest. And that is Mariusz. That is Mariusz all over. Mariusz demanded those conditions, and for good reason on his behalf. You know, he's going to have much better endurance than me, much better way of handling the adrenaline. So the longer this fight goes on, the more it lands into his advantage. So that's been the hardest bit for me. So 6 weeks ago, I had to swap my training from 2-minute rounds to 4-minute rounds, literally doubling my amount of round time, which has been tough, and probably why I got a cold and whatever else, because I just stressed my body out so much. Basically doubled everything all at once, just doubled the cardio, doubled the weights, doubled the swimming, doubled the fighting, and it's been hard on the body, I will admit. So definitely the conditioning has been the hardest aspect. Testo.ropesu09, what type of training did you do for the fight? So up until the 12-week camp, which is when we sort of got rid of all the weights. So up until then, I was doing 4 weight sessions a week, very, very fast, intense, cardio-based weight sessions. So very, very much like heavily body weight, like 30, 40 reps upwards kind of thing. So I'm just going to have to swap an IV over in a second. Obviously a lot of fight training, doing 4 fight sessions a week, 2 swim sessions a week. And then the recovery side was just insane, doing hyperbaric chambers and physio and ice baths and saunas and everything else. Put a lot of hours into that. And then when the 12-week camp started, scrapped the weights, and I've just been doing fight training and swimming. And the swimming's been really hard. I always think if you want to get fit, go for a swim. So what I've been doing for the swimming is literally just 2 4-minute rounds in swimming as hard as I possibly can. So I've been doing 10 lengths in like 3 minutes 45 seconds, which is 250 meters, and then I have 90 seconds rest and then do it again. It doesn't sound a lot, but that has absolutely destroyed me. Like I've been fight training in the morning, and then I have my dinner and I go swim in the afternoon, and I do that swim and I am literally like, I can't even lift my head up out of the water. I am that destroyed. So that's been pretty much how I've trained for the fights for the last 12 weeks, is fighting and swimming. Jish Nuzuren 10. What made you decide to become a fighter? Well, I guess it just sort of fell in my lap. Obviously I had the fight with Thor. And then I took a good year out to work on growing my family. And I've since had 2 additional children. One is now 22 months, and one is 7 months old. So I took time out to build my family, which I've done, and that sort of segment just got closed off. And then I got we signed a contract to fight against other strongman in Qatar. So I was going to fight Brian Shaw, Mike Ford and Mitchell Hooper all on the same night. It was like a 4-man eliminator. It was for big money, so I signed that contract, and then I spent 7 months training for that fight. And then that got cancelled the last minute. The Ministry of Sport in Qatar got arrested, and it all fell through. So that was 7 months of my life wasted, and I just felt like I had to make use of that 7 months. It just felt such a waste. So that's when I started digging around and trying to get this fight sorted, basically. And that was literally, where are we now? We're in May. So we're talking probably about a year ago, a year and a half ago, is that all that happened? So it took me sort of a year and a half to just keep my toe in, just doing a couple of sessions a week, and just negotiate and get this fight with Mariusz locked in. So yes, that's why I decided to become a fighter, because I didn't want to waste all the training that I did for it. And I worked bloody hard, and I wanted to make use of it. Okay, Christian_VDV. What is the worrying part? What was the most worrying part of Mariusz to fight, in your opinion? I mean, Jesus, everything. Absolutely everything. Mariusz is not only won the world's strongest man 5 times, so, not even after all this time, he's still going to have that underlying strength. And he was always going to be a strong guy. His endurance, he's been doing 16 years in the MMA game of fighting 5-minute rounds. That's 16 years of training that I haven't had, 17 years even. So his endurance is going to be through the roof. Obviously his experience, his technique, he's got 17 years of that, of just, constantly working with different fighters, sparring with different people, getting those different environments, getting those adrenaline dumps. He's just got so much in terms of advantage over me. It is insane. And then I think the most worrying part about Mariusz is his ability to not give up. You think of him in the strongman days, and this is what really resonates with me with Mariusz is, you did like the Husafelt carries, where you'd like pick up a big stone and walk for distance, like you'd walk 20 meters, walk back as many times as you can. Longest distance wins. Athletes would get like 20, 30, maybe 40 meters, and then Mariusz would go and he'd get like 100 meters. He'd just keep going and going and going. his ability to push his body beyond the limits and capabilities of what the other guys thought was possible is insane. And that's pretty much what's going to happen in the fight. You know, he's just got that ability to push and push and push till he drops. And that is also a very worrying part of Mariusz. So yeah, there's quite a few worrying factors with Mariusz, that's for sure. Okay, _Beerwolf. What advantage do you think you have over Mariusz in the ring and vice versa? I think I'll pretty much just hit that, but I think my advantages are speed and power and strength. I think that, and those are definite ones. You know, I've been tested on the punch machine at the UFC Institute. Got one of the hardest punches on the planet that's been recorded. You know, I've been on a machine where all the UFC fighters have been and hit, and I hit the highest score. So I've got one of the hardest punches on the planet. I know speed-wise, I know I'm fast. You know, people can say what the f*** they want. I just know I've got fast hands, and I'm able to duck and dive a lot quicker than what people think's possible. I'm able to do. So I think speed's on my advantage, and then strength. You know, I'm so strong. You know, it was only 12 weeks ago I was pressing 100 kilo dumbbells and shoulder press. You know, I can bench press 60 kilos for dumbbells for 30 reps. It's just, my strength is pretty insane. Even now, even after all these years retired. So strength definitely. And then his advantages are, of course, the experience, the endurance, the technical side is going to be more technical than me, definitely. And yeah, that willpower. I mean, I've got good willpower. But as if Mariusz can bring what he brought from Strongman to this fight, that's definitely a worry. Bond903877. Are you using the same mind trick that you used to set the deadlift record for this fight to prepare? Absolutely not. I mean, for the deadlift record, you know, that was a lot of mind trickery, staring himself in the mirror, putting myself in a scenario for those, just for that couple of seconds of madness where I can just open up my body's abilities for a few seconds to give 100%. Whereas the fight is, you know, it's 8 minutes of fighting. If I gave everything I've got for 10-15 seconds, I'm going to be bust for the rest of the fight, and that's where that's dangerous. That's when you get hit, you get elbowed, and you get fucked up. So this approach has been much different. This is a lot more relaxed. You've got to go in calm, you've got to go in collective, you've got to be ready to go in and display what you've learned. You know, if you go in with a hot head and angry and you know, too much emotion, it all just goes out the window. So I've got to come in very collective for this fight. Okay, Anti-Maric _9. How fast did you learn martial arts to the point when you can say that you know how to fight? That's a good question. Well, you never stop learning MMA. That's something I'll say. You never stop learning. So every single session, every place I've been, I've always picked something new up. And I can almost guarantee even the top fighters say that. You know, they can go somewhere and still learn something new. I would say it took me about 6 months before I was comfortable on the floor, and that is, you know, the grappling, getting your hands and your hips in the right place and snaking out. And there's just certain things that people think, you know, you just get up off the floor when someone's on top of you. If someone knows what they're doing, you will not get up off the floor. They use your body against you. So you've got to work out ways to get them off balance and throw them away and, you know, get up quick. And so yeah, I think it took me about 6 months to get to a point where, like, right, I can handle myself on the floor, to the point where I can defend positions where I'm not going to get choked. I can defend arm breaks, you know, and those are the important. So I've learnt the important stuff probably 6 months in, and I would say, you know, up to this point now, I'm still learning. You know, I'm still, you know, I could probably do another 10 years training before I'd feel comfortable enough to say I'd be very good on the floor, because you're never good enough. You know, it is one of those things. You've got to respect the game. You've got to humble yourself, because that floor game is a different kettle of fish. You think, put it this way, you think you can fight, you think you can grapple, and then you go in the ring with someone like Tom Aspinall, and you can't fight and you cannot grapple. You've got to weigh that up. You know, I think there's always someone better out there than you. Always. There's always something more you can learn. Bake Z lifts. What diet have you been using for your fight with Mariusz? _Nathan. Okay, the diet I've pretty much used has been like a 90% carnivore diet. So I've ate nothing but ribeye steaks, eggs, salmon, bacon, black pudding, chicken thighs, dairy products, Greek yogurt, halloumi, and then just little bits of sauerkraut and blueberries. Just blueberries or raspberries, just like small amounts of superfoods. So yeah, the diet's been pretty much carnivore. Oh, it's a great question here. Can you fight Conor McGregor? I'd love to fight Conor McGregor, I think. I think that the weight difference would be absolutely comical. But there is weight differences, there is weight classes for that reason, you know, it would be super dangerous. On Conor's behalf, if I'm being honest. Can you do a spinning sidekick? 100% I can do a spinning sidekick. I might even display one during the fight. That's a joke, by the way. There's no way I'm going to be doing a spinning sidekick. What has surprised you most about MMA compared to strongman? That's from Seif.weir. MMA compared to strongman. I mean, they're pretty obvious differences, but I think with the MMA is there's just strongman is moving a weight from A to B, you know, as efficiently as possible. And once you've learned how to do that, it's just a matter of repeat, and getting those muscles to grow and be strong and get the tendons and ligaments to be strong in those positions. So strongman, in a way, once you've learned strongman, it's a very repetitive sport. Whereas MMA is just such a jungle of techniques and tricks and nooks and crannies. It's you can never stop learning MMA, and that's what I'm going to say about it. Is it's so much more fun in that respect. Is that you can go into a session and you're learning, and if you're learning, you're having fun, in my opinion. And of course, there is a lot of the repeat repetitiveness side of it, but you're only making yourself stronger and faster in those movements, and it's just good fun. That's all I say. MMA for me. I mean, I suppose I'm a bit biased at the minute because, you know, I've done the strongman, and I've completed the strongman, and I'm sort of mentally exhausted with the strongman. So, you know, it's easy for me to sit here and say it's boring and repetitive and whatever, but in my opinion, it is. It's a very lonely sport, strongman. You know, you go to those sessions and you repeat, and there's no one there shouting at you to do X, Y, and Z. You've got to just get it done. Whereas MMA, you're working with people. You know, it's a lot more social. It's a lot more sort of interactive. Ollie Summers, how difficult was the transition into MMA for a person of your skill set and body type? Pretty fucking tough. That's a great question. So, yeah, I mean, skill set. I mean, MMA. I had no MMA experience. I had no floor experience. So that's been a tough. And obviously, being the size I am, you sort of anticipate me to be absolutely terrible on the floor because, you know, moving your body weight around, you wouldn't think you'd be any good. I've surprised myself. You know, I think the body type has surprised a lot of people. I've gone into a lot of gyms and done grappling, and they've been like, I wasn't expecting that. You know, because you just expect someone like me to be slow, sluggish, and just power out of things. Whereas no, I'm like a crocodile when I'm on the floor. That's how I keep getting described as. It's like a big giant crocodile. You get in these positions, and I'll just throw myself in the air and twist round and sort of like a crocodile would just spin out of things. And that's because I've got such a great core strength, being able to do those kind of things. So I think it's actually suited the floor game heavily, being my body shape and coming from strongman. It's really suited the floor game. Very surprising to myself. Okay, Addy_96P. Do you think you prepared for the fight 100%, 110%, or could you have done more? I mean, I've done as much as I could have. I think other than having little bouts of illness, I couldn't have done more, really. You know, like any sport, you know, I've had little nicks and crannies across the board. You know, I've pulled calves, I've pulled my back, I've pulled my bicep, and that's just being part of fighting. You know, so I've had those little setbacks. I've had the colds and the flus and everything, like everybody else. But yeah, could I have done more? No. You know, I think I've given my recovery's been on point, my food's been on point. I've given everything into all my training sessions, you know, the swimming sessions especially. So yeah, I pretty much give 110%. I can hand on heart say that. So, and that's important. You know, it's important when you're going into the fight that you've done everything you could have done. Yeah, and I think if you haven't, that's when the doubts start creeping into your head, and you can have really bad thoughts going into a fight, which is not good. Okay, next question we've got Daybando65. Weighing everything up with your confidence level and expectation. What's your confidence level and expectation like going into this fight? Confidence is quite good. You know, I think I'm calm, collective. Well, I mean, Luke, I know I'm going in the deep end here. I know I'm fighting someone way out of my league, if I'm being honest. But I know I've got the capability to beat this guy. And that's where I'm at mentally with this. You know, I've said it a few times now. He's got 26 pro fights, 16, 17 years experience. I can't tell you how much of an advantage that is. Like, you think about people like amateur boxers, when they're picking the next fight, you know, they've had 5 fights and they're going up against someone with 8 fights. It's like, oh, I don't want to fight him. He's had 3 more fights than me. And that's literally those are the conversations people have, you know, like the Tommy Furies, the Jake Pauls. They have these conversations, and it's like, who your next opponent would be is almost got to be on the same level. You've got to build slowly, you know. Oh, he's had 8 fights, right? I've had 9, so I'll fight him. Right, next one, someone's had 11 fights, right? I'll fight him. And then when you've had 15 fights, right? I'll fight someone who's had 17 fights, and you just sort of build up, and that's how fighting works. I've had none. I've had 1 2v1 fight. I don't know if you can count that as a fight. I've had 0 fights, and I'm going up against someone with 26 professional fights. So, hey man, if I didn't think I could win, I wouldn't be here. And I think that's the gist of my confidence level. I think I can bang this guy out. I think I've got the ability to knock him out. It's just making it happen. Diddy Tom B. Stone. Did I Tombstone? Very nice, very nice. Would you step in the ring with Brock Lesnar or Rico Verhoeven? F***ing hell. I would say Brock Lesnar for me is one of the scariest men on planet Earth. And I'm being serious when I say that. I think obviously he's got the reputation from the WWE, but I don't think people appreciate how hard wrestling in the WWE is. To be a top level world wrestler in the WWE Federation, you've got to be a nutcase, you've got to be athletic, endurance, power, strength. It is crazy what those guys put their body through on a daily basis. I would say this, I would rather fight 10 normal blokes than one guy from the WWE, because you know that one guy from the WWE has had 1,000 fights at least, and is going to be a hard nut. So definitely, like Brock Lesnar scares the shit out of me. Plus, he's a badass in the MMA. And then Rico Verhoeven, me, I think if there's one guy on the planet I wouldn't want to fight in a street, it'd be Rico, because that guy would just break your face in one kick. Like, it's unreal. Oh, I mean, this guy's asking me to choose between the two. I'd probably pick Rico, just because I know Rico and he's a really nice guy. So I know Rico would just knock you out and leave you be, whereas Brock Lesnar would probably knock you out and stamp over your face. So yeah, I'd pick Rico. Okay, Dat_chronic_420. Have you ever thought about doing bare knuckle fighting as well as it? I have actually thought about doing bare knuckle fighting, and I will say this: that the money would have to be right. I would consider it. I would do it. I love the bare knuckle scene. I think it's exciting. I think it's exhilarating. I love watching the bare knuckle. And yeah, if the money's right, why not? I'd be a part of that. Carl_Crom. Who's your bucket list opponent in the octagon? Mariusz Podnoski. Nice and simple. There's, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say I want to fight John Jones or Tom Aspinall, because I just don't. I think those guys would absolutely kill me. I think fighting Mariusz is the dream fight. I think it is. I think, you know, it's the fight everyone wants to see. It's the fight I want to see. And if you ask me who's the only person I want to fight in the octagon, it's going to be Mariusz Podnoski. So I'm kind of here. I'm kind of at my dream fight. Where can I see the fight? By the way, love you. That's from Dean Boy. I'm going to put the link to the pay-per-view below. It's on Canal Plus. And it's going to be around 10 GMT time, 9 p.m. GMT time on Saturday. So please, yeah, a watch is supporting me as good as any so thank you. What will you do to control the nerves before the fight? Big respect on taking this guy on. I've got a good team around me. I think controlling nerves is a part of the process. Getting little bits of aggression out, shouting actually helps. Like it just gets the nerves right down. And just breathing. You know, listening to nice music and just keeping them. And then, you know, when you're in that arena, it is what it is. You can't keep the nerves down. You know, when you start throwing punches, it's like a street fight, isn't it? You know, things wake up and you can't stop that fight or flight scenario. And there's no flighting, it's all fighting. So right then, guys, I think we have just done a fair few questions there, most of them fight related. Thank you very much for submitting the questions. I'm just finishing up this IV bag now. I'm going to go for a little bit of a mid session, and then I'm going for a sauna, and then we're doing the weigh-in tonight. So yeah, I'm going to get my head in the zone ready for the fight tomorrow night. So thank you, guys. I really appreciate everyone watching the videos, liking, subscribing, commenting. Watching the fight would be absolutely amazing as well. So just want to say thank you to everyone that supported me and continues to support me, and I will see you all soon. Wish me luck, I'm going to need it. Big love.